Starting point always for policies and procedures begins with the thought experiment. You imagine yourself doing something in advance, which then reveals at a certain point, I need to know this. Whether it's how do I submit my final results to the university administration, how do I book a room, how do I organise examination logistics, what do I do if I want to take my students on an excursion, the list goes on. So basically, when you create your thought experiment, you work through the thought experiment, and where there come sticking points, you just make a note, need to clarify. The policies and procedures for most places are now well documented somewhere on university websites. The emphasis is somewhere, because in my experience of trawling university websites for a whole range of different purposes, some are remarkably good, clear and transparent, and you seem to find what you're looking for really fast, and some seem to have the most obscure keywords and listings, and what ought to be a very prescriptive search term turns up a huge long list of various things, from items in various committee meetings going back to the dawn of time. So certainly, once you've got your thought experiment, once you've got your list, you can try the website trawl to find the relevant policies and procedures. Failing to turn something up quickly and easily that gives you what you want usually should be a referral back perhaps to a departmental secretary, or perhaps to one of the colleagues that you work with about, look, I'm having trouble finding the rules and regs for such and such. But one thing certainly is very clear. Rules and regs will lay down what you can and can't do and where you have discretion. And one of the worst things that you can actually do is to exceed your discretion. In other words, if there is a policy that such and such should happen, it doesn't matter whether you feel poorly about administering that policy or not, you follow the policy. And following the policy is actually best all round. One, it protects you against any charges of bias, or at the other end of favouritism. Two, it allows transparent communication with students. You can refer to the policy. I am implementing this policy. Most policies have some sort of appeal mechanism associated with them. So if the student is clearly vehemently disagreeing with a decision that's been made, I'm implementing the policy as I understand it and as I see it written. The policy includes these provisions for you to appeal or contest a decision. If you feel it's unreasonable, you'll need to take that step next. And then finally, at the end of the day, they're a personal reassurance to you and to everyone. And in some cases, you communicate policies to students as part of that sharing of information of common ground in setting up a unit. So for example, if you're wanting to share with a student regarding issues associated perhaps with collusion, plagiarism and the like, you may very well be required to draw the student's attention to the relevant policy as part of the initial orientation to the unit or to your teaching. Having drawn the student's attention to it, it then becomes much easier to implement the policy. We're following this particular line. An assessment policy would work in the same way.